Welcome to another episode of the Ambitious Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer. Thank you for listening and thank you for helping me be on purpose. I'm again always excited to be here with you guys. Today, I wanted to sort of talk about a book that I've been reading that really has sort of blown my mind. I don't know, sometimes you read something that is not very different than what you know, but it really just, touches you in a space. And it's this book called We Should All Be Millionaires. It's by this woman called Rachel Rogers. And I really feel like, first of all, I wasn't reading the book, she was reading me because we had so many things in common. She's from Queens. She went to law school. She had experiences where she, felt that she was being overlooked because she was a woman or had, people weren't really valuing who she was, because she was a woman. And I could totally, completely relate to a lot of the things that she sort of went through. But the thing that's super enlightening about the book is that it talks about how us as women, it goes through like the history of, the first Black female millionaires, like Madam C.J. Walker and other women millionaires as well. It's an inclusive book. But it talks about how society and historically we have been taught that we are not good with money, that we are not savvy, that we are not the breadwinners, that we need to, the dream should be to get a partner before you can make money or buy your properties and things like that. And so it's a book that's sort of like telling us about all the foolish ideas that we have and the things that we tell ourselves about our ability as women to sort of make money and to make our own way in the world, and that we all should be millionaires. And the funny things that I like about it is it talks about broke ass decisions and $1 million decisions. And so she goes through all these things that we tell ourselves that are broke ass decisions. Like, for instance, if you're like, all right, if I want to make money, I want to save money, whatever it is, I'm going to not buy my latte. I'm not going to, buy luxury items. I'm not going to. And she's like, no, that's a broke ass decision. Like, you need to be making decisions based on being a millionaire already. Like, what would I do if I was a millionaire? A good example I like to give about this and what I've been practicing is like, if you're looking at a menu at a restaurant, you want to buy, you're getting something to eat. Don't choose according to what the price is on the menu. Choose according to what you actually want, right? Because what you're telling yourself, the story that you're telling yourself is, I am not worth this additional amount, or I can't afford this additional amount. If you went to that restaurant, then you can have anything that you want on the menu, right? And it's a lot of little things like that. Owning your time, taking back more of your time. And so we're taught as women that we need to bear the brunt of the household. We need to be the ones who are cooking and cleaning and making sure that everybody gets to their doctor's appointment and has their dentist appointment. And it talks about just, valuing yourself more in the sense that this can be a collective familial job, right? This could be, let's see what everything that needs to be done and sort of divvy it up so that we're all being part of this story and all being part of the narrative of where our future goes. And this is a legacy conversation, right? Because I think about the lessons that I want to teach my daughter and how I don't want to teach her that what she needs to do in life is give all of herself to everybody else. And then if there's a little bit left over, then she can follow her hopes and dreams. No, that's not what it is. So it's about really, really being conscious of how much we're valuing our time and our worth and what we deserve so that nobody else gets to tell us, what we should have, how much we should have, and when we can have it. We really get to drive that car. And so you should really pick up this book. I thought it was really interesting. There's a lot more meat in there that I don't want to really read you the whole book. I haven't even finished it yet. But as I'm going through it, I'm like, wow, this is really good for not just women of color to read, but anybody to read. But any woman really. And if you're a father or a husband, it might be something that you want to pick up as well, because it really just gives some good insight into how women feel in this world and how we're sometimes perceived. And we already know that not only the wealth gap is different, is bigger for women, but also the pay is different for women and all kinds of different things of how women are treated unequally even still today. But that's not really what I wanted to go to. I wanted to talk about these millionaire conversations that we need to be having with ourselves on a daily basis to make sure that we are setting our mindset and we are manifesting the things that we want to see in our lives. Because you could unconsciously be manifesting lack by focusing on what you don't have and what you can't have versus what you are entitled to. And so my guest today is a woman who has no problem with any of this stuff, right? She is a super confident woman. She has really paved the way without having any fear, any hangups about anybody telling her that she's not going to have what she wants to do. So let's get into this conversation. Her name is Jane Bond, and I know you're going to enjoy this as much as I did. All right, welcome, Jane. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Just getting over a cold, I think, like everyone else. And
Yes.
but other than that, I'm doing well.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. So for those of you who don't know Miss Jane Bond, she is a legend in the real estate game. She has conquered, broken down all the barriers in the luxury real estate market and has, really created a wonderful career for herself. So Jane, what had you interested in entrepreneurship? What had that fire been lit for you to do things on your own in your own way?
I believe it was my mom and dad. They laid kind of the, blueprint for me without realizing they were. My mom, as far as I can remember, she was a nurse, she was a licensed practice nurse, which was like, LPN at that time, and she moved on to be a registered nurse. She always wanted to be what she would call a female doctor, but, being born in the 30s, it was a little difficult. And then, she had kids. Actually, I have, my mom and dad had 7 kids, so I have
Oh, wow.
sisters and one brother, my siblings. And my dad actually only went to 3rd grade, and he became an entrepreneur in his own right, and he did well for himself.
Wow.
And actually inspired my mother. When my mother was a registered nurse, my father went into the bar business, and he actually accumulated 5 to 6 bars and 2 nightclubs.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of them grow and watch our life grow differently from where we were to where we were on our way to. And I took note of that. And even though they worked longer and harder and more hours, they were playing by their own rules. And our life was changing right before our eyes. We had better cars, better clothes, I'm a little older than most people think. So yeah, we had a better lifestyle as I was growing up, and I started watching it happen. And actually, my first stint at business, I think I want to say I probably was in the 11th or 10th grade, and one of the bars had a kitchen over top of it.
Okay.
And my dad and my sister out one day, and we would be with my father all the time. Our neighbors would, talk about us all the time because we were females and we were in the bars, so to speak.
Okay.
Back in those days, in the 70s, it was not ladylike, but the bars were back in those days because, as I remember, people would dress up to come to the bars, and then they had a specific ladies night, where the ladies would come in and they would look beautiful, and then one Sunday they would dress up gorgeous and then go to church, have drinks before they go to church, and then come back to church and have more drinks. And I just, I watched everything, and I was always like a sponge, always taking things in. So, as I watched them progress, I thought, wow, that's when the light bulb went on. And I would be with my dad. We were only 2 girls pretty much left at home, me and my youngest sister, and we would be with my dad all the time. We would go to the bars. He taught us how to, do inventory, which he used to always call FIFO, first in, first out, how to handle this, how to count money. And, it's so funny. I pride myself on really counting money really fast and turning the money in the right side way. And I go to the bank and people go, oh, wow, were you a teller? And I go, no, my dad taught me how to count money, put money in perspective. So having a foundation based on respect for money and understanding what that meant at a young age, and then having the opportunity at one point, not knowing if we were going to be able to go to school, to the university. We had that opportunity because they worked so hard. And I'm going to digress a little bit because I want to definitely answer that question. What happened was we had a position above one of the bars, and my sister and I went out with my dad one day, and we went to a bar, and they were selling chicken, fried chicken across the bar.
He was like, that sounds good.
It sounds good, sounds familiar too. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, Dad, we called him Green Bean because he always carried a lot of cash. And like, Green Bean, why don't you get us some wings to go? And at that time they were the full wing with the pit and the not wing bean. So it was really interesting. So we took some home, my sister and I, and I think my sister's maybe 3 or 4 years younger than I. And she started eating. She was like, well, Jane, you can fry chicken better than this. And I said, I know, girl, I can. So I said, if I had a place to cook some chicken, I could make some money. And she was like, well, why don't you open up the kitchen? Why don't you ask Green if you could open up the kitchen over top of the bar, which was called Dolphin Street West at the time. And I opened it up and called it Karen's Kitchen because that's my first name. Jane is my second.
Okay.
And my dad, the funny story is that I started making money right away, which money, as I saw it, was a lot for us. And I remember the third week, I made maybe $500-600, and I was like, oh, wow, this is really something. Selling out the chicken. And then my dad made up, I think, I'm not 100% sure, I think he made up a story and said someone broke in a bar, stole all the food, stole all the chicken, because he didn't like that the men from the bar were coming upstairs spending so much time with us while we were frying the chicken.
Okay.
And I had enlisted one of my girlfriends to help me. So we were like, I don't know, 14, 15 young people up there. And I would close the kitchen down at 9:30. And he allowed me to open it up at, I think, 5:36 when I got from school, after I did my homework and got home early enough where I had enough time to sleep and to take care of things there. So that was my first entrepreneurship. And I think the respect for money and understanding what to do for you. And if you worked hard and built your own foundation, you could really do well. And I can share with you, never had a job.
Wow, that's awesome. A lot of people I speak to who are entrepreneurs, worked and then realized that they didn't like, how that felt to have someone else be in charge of your time, but you actually never had a job.
Well, I had one job, which, I guess people would say it was a job. I was a flight attendant at one time in my life.
Okay.
And that was one of my first jobs. And to me, it wasn't a job. It was a vacation. And, full-time benefits, with the part-time job of flying wherever you wanted to go in your heart. Wherever your heart desired, you would go. So to me, I didn't have a boss because I was up in the air. And I became the boss. I became the first flight attendant. So
you were the first flight attendant?
I was the first flight attendant, meaning I was what they call the ISM, International Flight Service Manager. So when you got on board, I was the one greeting everyone, telling you, go back, so forth. And that was pretty much one of my only jobs I really ever had. Everything else I created on my own. So,
and from I know that you did some modeling at some point. Was that before that or after the flight attendant?
That was actually after. I was a little older, and I had left New York after I graduated from school, but I returned to New York. And that's when my career started taking off with acting and modeling. And I realized that really quickly that I liked making money. And I didn't want to kind of dictate when I was going to be paid or how I could be paid, or choose me to be paid. So that was a quick stint. But I enjoyed it. I had a stint on Sex and the City. And I did a lot of things, when no one knew what Sex and the City was, that was me on there. I enjoyed that part of my life, and I enjoyed going on auditions and understanding that, and that made me go into actually entertainment management. Be behind the camera than in front of the camera. So, I found that a lot of people thought I should have been in front of the camera. So
yeah. So is it something that you sort of fell into, managing people? Did someone just say, I just want you to manage me? How did that go?
Well, I've had several careers in my life. After flying, I decided, I really wanted to have my own business and make enough money where I could sit in first class without having to be able to fly free,
I
because
love
that's
that.
what I did. And I thought, what would it be like for me to pay for first class and sit there and be like everyone else?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went into interior design when I knew nothing about interior design, but I got lucky,
Wow.
because last years of my career as a flight attendant, I decided to travel around the world and enjoy myself. And I happened to meet, I decided to take a charter one day with a friend of mine called the Buddy Bid partner at the time. And it was for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I met one of the team players and told him I was an interior designer. And he gave he gave me the opportunity. I could talk the talk because I had been all around the world.
I
He gave me the
see.
opportunity to find his house out,
Mm-hmm.
and that that was something that blew my mind, because I really knew how to do it. And from
Wow.
that time on, it was like a whirlwind. My name went through the teams, the San Diego Chargers, the Eagles, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My name just started flowing through the teams and
Wow.
being able to work. And I had the knack for being able to speak to, a player and his wife or his friend or female, whoever he was dating, without them even thinking about, that I was interested in their party. It was always them
That
together. And I knew
I
I
got
could
you.
isolate the couple, when I was speaking with them, to make them both feel very, very comfortable.
Yeah.
And I
So
think
I wanted to
that was a
interject.
good quality.
Sorry, I wanted to interject because I know for a lot of women, there's this thing called imposter syndrome, right? Where we sort of dim our lights, or we don't go for things as vigorously as men do because we don't think that we're worthy, or that we don't have it, right? So how did you said that you did it, and at the time you hadn't had any experience. So you didn't have imposter syndrome. How did you overcome that, or even if it never existed? Like, what gave you that sort of courage?
Um, I think the confidence of being able to fly and meet people from all over the world, from all walks of life, and wanting to engage, wanting to know who they were, where you come from, what's your life about, and I was always one when all the other flight attendants, which were the other Black female flight attendants, were going to LA, Chicago, New York. I was saying, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to Europe.
Right.
I can't go here if something happened to this job, so I'm going to go see the world. And I'm an American. I can always see America, which I haven't traveled too much in America, but I've traveled all over the world.
Oh, wow.
From Abu Dhabi to Dubai to Egypt to you name it, I've been there. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting when you have gone to all those places and you meet people. And I was always one to want to meet the natives. I didn't want to be a tourist. So I was by myself.
Right.
So people would come up and talk to me, and next thing I know, I was hanging out at their houses. And I think that for me to gain the confidence to speak to anyone. As a young person, I was only 23, 24 years old. So at 23, 24, you're very adventurous.
Yes.
I don't know if I would get on a plane and land somewhere and take a train to Istanbul by myself today.
Right.
So I was that kind of adventurous person. I would fly to Germany and go, okay, so what's going on in Germany? That was me. So I think that's where the confidence level came from, and not being afraid to try whatever I thought I could do. In the interior design, I knew quality as opposed to quantity.
Right.
And by traveling and seeing things and being in people's companies that I never even dreamt I would be in, people of unbelievable wealth, and they would share it with me and take me throughout their homes. And I was like, wow, this is this is okay. I've never seen that before.
Right.
They would explain to me all about the art and when they would travel. And I mean, they were just very gracious people all over the world that I've met. And I'm still friends with a lot of them. So I think that's where my confidence came from. And then coming back home
Hmm.
It was no big deal to deal with anybody at home, because
Yeah, it's
we
like,
were here.
oh, you're just an American.
It wasn't even that. It was like, I know a lot of African Americans. I know when I was growing up,
Hmm.
it was always a fear to sit in front of someone of authority and speak to them. And
Right.
my father shared something a long time ago. He said, I don't care who they are, I don't care what color they are. When you sit in front of them, you look them dead in their eyes and you speak to them.
Mm.
Don't start looking around like you're insecure. You're too tall for that.
Right.
But you always tell me, listen, you need to stand firm and be who you are and always be true to yourself.
Mm.
And that's just who I am. So
Yeah.
I never thought about being afraid to talk to anyone or do anything I wanted to do.
Yeah, I love that. And then that's just such a beautiful message that, just being fearless and following your heart. What do I actually want? I was actually reading a book about We Should All Be Millionaires. I don't know if you heard of it, Rachel Rogers.
Yeah, and how do I get what I want?
Yeah.
And it's not always, the thing is, it's not always about money. I never worried about money. That was one part that I really embraced. And I said, if I continuously worry, and that's where the respect for a dollar comes into play, I think.
Okay.
When I worry, or if I had to worry about money, I probably would never have any money.
Hmm.
So, I take things accordingly. I know the money's going to come because I'm going to do the job. I'm going to do the work to get it. So
Right.
I never think, oh, I got to become a millionaire. Oh, no, I'm going to be a millionaire. I don't have to
Hmm.
worry about that.
Hmm.
I have to. I know who I am when I look in the mirror. And a
Right.
lot of people don't know who they are.
Right.
And that's, you know,
Yeah.
and I remember one girl asked me, she was an agent. I was working at Sotheby's. And she said to me, point blank, where did all this confidence come from?
Right.
And no one had ever asked me that. And I just said, I'm just myself. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm not afraid to talk to you or anybody else. We're the same people. It's just people.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's beautiful. It's a gift to be able to have that. And I think people can cultivate it, but we just make up things in our minds, about why we can't and what, barriers there are for
Right.
us and why we can't do what we want to do. But fortunately you didn't have that. And hopefully like people can, listen to your story and take a beat from that all you did was be who you are and do what you wanted to do. And that got you exactly where you were.
I didn't come from some fabulous background. I tell people I had to ask my mom. I said, how much was the house I grew up in? She said $32,000. So holy
Wow.
shit, I wish I could flip all those now and flip them.
Right.
So yeah, it's really interesting when you and the funny thing is, I always say, growing up in that house, it was like a mansion. I was running
Mm.
around like a girl, because we had our own bedrooms. It never was a problem with anything. So, I think just growing up happy and working and having the opportunities that were in front of us,
Right.
when I know at one point I didn't think I would have the opportunity to go to school.
Yeah.
And when it became an option, it was a beautiful thing. It was a choice.
Yeah. So you
So
were definitely empowered at a young age and you sort of took hold of that. So now you're in the industry where you were doing interior design and you're growing, you're working with all these celebrities, and it didn't end there though. So where did you go to next?
I met someone that asked me, one of the football players' wives, who asked me, could I handle her business for her management?
Mm.
And she was a singer, and she was related to her sister was a more famous singer than she was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at his house doing some work.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember her asking me, she said, could you do some management for me? Could you help me? And I was like, what? She was like, schedule and everything and help manage me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm an interior designer.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but I think you could do it. And I said, well, and then she said to me, she said, Jane, it's business. It's all the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh, okay. That light bulb came on again.
Right.
And she says, well, can you do this for me? So I did. And next thing I know, I met another person and another person. And Then I met my partner, who was English at the time, who is English. And he was brilliant. You know, he could put together a computer and take a computer apart, and he just knew everything about anything with the internet and what was going on. And we became partners and opened up our business. We opened up the Inbound Management Entertainment Company in New York. And we went strong for a long time. I mean, we had relationships with Robert De Niro and Law and Order, Paramount Pictures. I mean, we did really well. And missed that a lot. I represented Nigel Parker from America's Next Top Model, Franklin Smith, the Black Judge in Law. The Brand New Heavies became my client. I mean, we traveled around the world with them, you know. So I was able to really embrace that part of my career, which like I said, I was doing acting and modeling. So that flipped the script. And then I understood, you know, how to deal with contracts. I mean, I didn't know anything. I just flowed what was happening. So it was kind of like a new, you know, journey for me.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful lesson because the way that, you know, sort of life is right now, things are changing, things are shifting. Like we're seeing all these new different concepts and ways to live and make money. And so what you're showing us is that you could just pivot. Like where you see an opportunity, you look at the skill sets that you have, you could just apply those and pivot to the next thing that you desire to do.
And what you don't know, hire someone like you.
Right.
You hire the experts. If what you don't know, you hire someone.
Right.
And that my partner taught me that. He said, you know, we don't have to know everything. We just hire the people that do know most of the things that we don't.
Right.
And it just makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a piece that entrepreneurs of color historically didn't embrace, you know, just delegating and growing your team and hiring people. And that's how you actually, you know, grow and not be afraid of that because it's going to bring you more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they're afraid to stretch their dollar because they think their dollar and cents won't go far. But when you do stretch your dollar, you do find that you have growth among the team that you put together because that team will allow you time, you know, to shift and more moves. You know, it just depends on how you move. You know, as the young people say, I move different.
I love that, Jay. Yes, you definitely do.
Young people are something today. Oh, God.
So how did you go from being in New York to conquering the real estate market in Florida? What made you make that transition?
I got married.
You say that,
you know,
that it wasn't a good thing.
You move, right? They'll make you move differently too. So I got married back in 2010, and I had met my husband. Long story short, I met my husband when I was a flight attendant. You know, quite years ago, and in 20 years we ran into each other twice in Manhattan, which is on the street. And the third time we ran into each other, we got married.
Oh wow!
So it was really big, from what I understand. So he lived here in Florida and asked me to come here, and I came here, and I was like, okay, where is here? There's nobody here that looks like me. What's this about? You know, I know Florida. And when he said he lived in Naples, I was like, so where is Naples? Because I never knew anything about the west coast of Florida, the Gulf of Mexico, and Florida being on it.
Okay.
Even I'm not that geographically, you know, smart. So when I got here, it was interesting because I was like, well, what am I going to do here? It's too hot to run. I was an avid runner. So I used to run all the time.
Okay.
And all I did is run, work, and party. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You know, and rinse and repeat. So when I got here, I didn't know what to do with myself, but I did have my real estate license in New York also.
Okay.
My interior design, I thought that would be a good, you know, match. And I worked with Belmont at 59th and Madison for about a year when I had my license there. So I understood real estate, but real estate had changed dramatically.
Okay.
You know, at the time I was doing real estate there for that one, you know, stint in my career, which it was when things were shifting and crossing. book, and we would go through the book with the addresses and pick up the phone and dial.
Okay.
So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So when I moved here, I looked around. I didn't know what to do, and I remember Tiffany's offering me a job, on the floor. I thought, wait, I'm going to service the people that I want to be. I'm that person. I'm stand, behind a counter and sell people diamonds. I don't think so.
Wow.
So I looked into real estate and I started looking into it, but the country had started falling apart. The market was crashing at the time. It crashed actually in 2008.
Yeah.
But I didn't get my license to 2010 because I had to kind of suss out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got my license, I ran around in circles and chased my tail, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 3 years of my career because I really didn't understand the business model.
Okay.
I didn't understand how to capture the market. I think I was like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was like everybody else, trying to figure out how to do this business, because it's not something that you know how to do. You just think, well, anyway, I thought, I'm not going to say everybody. I just thought, I go out there, I show some houses, and the houses are nice, and
people buy
a contract.
Mm-hmm.
People buy, anybody can show a house.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I realized the real, part of that business was selling, being a real salesperson, selling, being a salesman, being a good one, and I knew how to do that, but I had to still understand the business. So once I understood the business and put the marketing together, and I started putting 2 and 2 together,
right.
I started using my skill set from being in entertainment and interior design. It was a package deal. And then I knew I wasn't afraid to speak to anybody.
Right.
But I still had to start out, at the bottom like everyone else does, unless you have that circle of friends. And I'll be honest, we did have a circle of friends of wealth, but it didn't matter because they weren't sure about my skill set at that point. They only knew me as the my husband. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I chased my tail in maybe 3 years, and then I left. I was with Keller Williams, and I kind of out Keller Williams. So I was doing volume. I was doing anything from 90,000 to 200,000. I was selling them like hotcakes.
Oh wow!
And I thought, I'm looking in the magazines at people selling $5 million and $10 million properties, and I'm still seeing nobody that looks like me. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I can do it. I just need to figure this out.
Right.
So I got a coach. And that coach changed my life completely. He made me accountable. He made me understand what my business meant. He made me really look at an itinerary and put it together and work from, 5 in the morning to 6 at night, and sometimes till 9 at night, and sometimes all night,
Right.
Yeah, and once I became accountable, once I understood the marketing, once I understood that listing property was more important than just purchasing property for someone, because listing is gave me notoriety. Listing is what gave me the skill set to go and sit and speak to anybody about selling their, largest asset they will ever own, which could be anywhere, 500 to 50 million. So here it is. This little curly haired black girl went from selling $90,000 properties to 20 million and more.
Wow.
So, once that happened for me, and I started looking around saying, wow, this is, I'm kind of lonely. Where's everybody? That was an eye opener for me too. Being here, being able to do that, and people trying to get in my head saying, well, you should be further because, you've done this, but because of this, you're not further. And I was like, wait a minute, get out my head and let me get out my way.
Right.
So once I was able to conquer the market and get what I needed here, I was pretty happy. And then I started thinking about purpose, and passion, and watching, young people that look like me not being able to do this, or not knowing how to do this because they were afraid to.
Yeah.
They didn't think it was available to. Or,
because I know that space is it's almost like very closed. It's very competitive. It's very tight knit. to get into that luxury space? Like, how did you push past those barriers that were, basically keeps everyone else out?
Well, one, I'm in a city where, there's not a lot of African Americans here, not a lot of Black people, not too many people that look like me. Actually, when I first got here, I was the only one there. And I couldn't get in my head like that. I never did that before. Traveling, helped, I guess, with that. I never thought somebody looked at me because I was Black, they wasn't going to give me a job. I knew my skill on up the par with everyone else.
Right.
And I knew my marketing was, far ahead of theirs because I came from New York City and I understood what it meant to really market something. And I was marketing people. People are the hardest thing to sell.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was marketing people and I thought, well, this is the property. If I know every single nook and cranny, and then I sit down with the lady of the house, lady house always want to tell you what she's done to the home to make it beautiful. They all want their home fabulous. So once you sit with them and they tell you about the home, the only thing you have to do is articulate it to the next person that's coming to purchase it and make sure they see themselves in that home. So I didn't have any issues with doing that. And I had nobody else to sell to.
Yeah.
So who else?
Let's get us.
If I wanted to make it, I had to sell to the people that were here. So I never thought about it, and I'll be the only time I thought about it is one time I was with someone that I had taken on as a partner, and then they started talking to me about it. And I thought, wow, this is not good because this is not in my head.
Right.
And then I speaking out about it. I found myself saying, I need to find a platform where I could speak to other agents that look like me and share with them what they need, the techniques, the skill set, how they have to handle themselves. And look, because a lot of people don't talk about appearances.
Right.
Going up in somebody's $15 million house and they're used to the best of the best. And also understanding that these people are very savvy,
That's
so,
true.
and they're looking for someone that's going to say yes. They're looking for someone that says, I can get the job done. And they want you to show them how you're going to get the job done. What's your plan of action?
Right.
What's your strategy? Because these people are at the top of their game. They either are retired and they are uber wealthy and you're selling one of their assets. Most of the assets I've sold and transferred and traded for people, they're not their primary residence. They're like their fourth homes. And these are $10 million and $15 million properties.
Right.
And then I have agents that come and sit in front of me and they go, well, I want to be $1 million agent. I've sold $1 million. So I'm already there. I'm like, what are you saying? Please, whatever you do, don't say that out your mouth to anybody in public. You have to do this consistently and you have to have a track record. And you have to know how to get in front of these people and sell yourself.
Right.
And there's plenty of people behind you waiting for the job. So you got to be good, and the first thing they're looking at is as soon as you get out your car and you walk up to their door, you're being judged.
You're being judged. Yeah. So is it that, Jane, you have to wear luxury items, drive a luxury car in order to do this? Like, if that's the reality, that's the reality. But, is that the thing?
It's not the reality. Unfortunately, and fortunately, $1 million listings changed the game for everybody. But what they forgot is, or the public forgot, is these guys they're being, they're exposed. They're, they millions of people watching them. They have, Brioni and all the designers you think throwing clothes at them. They're wearing $4, $5, and $7, $1,000 handmade shoes and suits that cost, $5,000. You can't afford that. And you can't go out here and mimic that because you don't make that kind of money. So these guys have so much exposure. But again, it made them up their game.
Yeah.
They have to look good. They have to look a certain way. If you can't afford to drive a Mercedes or a Range Rover or a Jaguar, you can't. And most agents, especially when they start out, they might only close one deal or two deals the first year of their, career.
Mm-hmm.
They're reaching for the stars before they even understand how to climb. And that's the unfortunate part, and then they don't understand, putting together their package to sit in front of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Now the game has changed again. The buyers are gone because we don't have any properties. We don't
Properties,
have any
right?
inventory.
Right.
How are you going to get in front of those sellers? How are you prospecting? There's two ways to prospecting. And I remember, it's funny, I was talking to Kiana.
Mm-hmm.
Kiana Watson from
Yeah,
Watson
I know
Company.
Kiana. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she called me and she was like, I want you to do a session for my agents tools for success.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, be on cold calling. And I went, you mean prospecting? And she was like, cold calling. I was like, all right. And I was a little confused, didn't realize she taught prospecting to buyers agents. That was a different way of prospecting. My prospecting was definitely getting on the phones. I don't know any other prospect.
Okay.
So it was interesting when she asked me that. It kind of put a light bulb in my head. I was like, oh, wow, she's right.
Mm-hmm.
And but a lot of agents don't do it as far as, the cold calling.
Okay.
But what they don't realize, this is what stockbrokers do. This is what insurance companies do. Every day, there's about 5 to 10 people calling you to sell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on who has the best line, that person.
How long you stay on the phone? Right.
Exactly. But, a lot of them hate cold calls.
Right.
But that's how I made my career. I got on the phones 3 hours a day, calling people who I did not know, because I knew if I called people I did not know, they will eventually get to know who I am.
Who you are.
And depending on how many people I called, exactly, the numbers don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm dialing 3 hours a day, I'm probably hitting 90 to, I would say, 200 people. Maybe I'm going to hit 50 new contacts.
So you're saying that this is still a very much viable way of getting clients if you're an agent and you're looking to land $1 million listing.
I don't care what business you're in. And not only that, they give you, you have the numbers. There are services out there that send you all the numbers you need, drop them in your database every day. You can cherry pick, just use the service. But a lot of agents, they, I wouldn't say afraid of it. They're intimidated by it.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you got to have a lot of resilience.
Yeah, you have to have resilience, and you have to be committed to what you want to do. Mm. The more you do it, the better you get. And I'm proof of that, because I stuttered, slurred my words, got nervous, but I called them back and called them back and called them back, and it prevailed. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you, the first time someone said, come and see me for a house over $1 million, it was like the rainbow stars and everything came out.
Wow.
And I got that deal, So it really depends. And I always thought, if I get in that house and I sit in front of them, I'm going to walk out that door. Maybe not with a signed contract that day, but guarantee you they're going to call me back in a couple of days and get the job.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I never worried. I just went and did it. Once I became good at it, it was like clockwork. It was so easy. Because you have it together. You know exactly what to do and how to unveil your strategy.
It sounds like to me that you're saying that, it's not that it's simple, but there is a strategy, and there's a strategy that a lot of people are aware of, but they're not willing to be consistent and be fearless and know that they deserve to, be in that space where they're selling those type of properties to those type of clients.
All those operative words: consistent, resilient. Mm-hmm. There's a fine line between persistence and pushiness. You have to find it. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to articulate what you want to say to people, especially when you get in front of them. Mm-hmm. You cannot, don't let them see you sweat. That's so true. You have to go there and be confident who you are. And once you do it a few times, believe me, the confidence will come. Mm-hmm. And you know your stuff. You just know what you're doing at that point. It's like anything else.
Like anything else, yeah.
But this, what they got to understand also, agents, is this is high finance. this is not just selling somebody's home.
Right.
You can get yourself in trouble if you don't know your contracts.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know the stats, if you don't know what's going on. Contracts change all the time. I mean, you're an attorney, you know.
Yes, very much so. It's all in the detail.
So, for all of the prettiness and looking good and walking around with the best shoes on and the best handbag and all that madness means nothing if you don't know your business. Because it can be snatched from you immediately if you get it wrong.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Jane, you had such an amazing career, so many different pivots, so many shifts, and you're now paying it forward by educating young agents and realtors who really want to be who you are, where you are in your career. So what does legacy mean to you in your life?
Pretty much what you just said, giving back to the agents that look like me, some that don't look like me, they can help too.
Right.
But giving back to them and sharing with them that they can do this and they can create amazing generational wealth. I'm not talking about being rich, I'm talking about being wealthy.
Right.
If they stick with it, they do the right things. Making a little bit of money is fine, and that it depends on what that means to you and what wealth means. Also, driving around in a nice car and not being able to pay for it is something different. Or $5,000 or $10,000 bag, and you really don't have any money, and you're carrying that bag like it's everything to you.
Right.
So it's important for them to understand that this is finance. This is high finance. This is business. And if you do your business correctly, you can win. And I went to Selling Tampa,
awesome.
and I mentor girls in Selling Tampa. I went to their premiere, and I was so proud. Oh my God, I was just like, irrespective of what the show may be or whatever, it's TV too, so we have to understand. But just these beautiful women on the screen, and of course, I'm waiting to see, ladies who listen to Atlanta or ladies.
I know Kiana's show and her crew is. I think there's coming out very soon. Yeah.
I think it's Friday. I won't be in town Friday, but I'm definitely taping it. But I'm so proud. And like I said, I'm older than the rest of them, but to see them actually up there doing their thing and looking good and spicing it up a little bit. And confident. And I listen to what they say, and I'm saying, no, that's not how it works. But but most of them, for the most part, it's the beautiful thing. And I just felt like screaming at the top of my lungs. I told my husband, I said, they heard me.
Yes.
They heard me saying.
Awesome.
All these years I've been on, this thing here, IG, sharing with them that they can do it, they can be it, they can live it. And, I see them living it. I see them going to different exotic places and hanging out with people and connecting and networking helped me. I networked with every single person I met.
Wow.
And that's a part of it too. No matter where you go in the world, open that up to yourself.
Letting everyone know what you do.
Exactly. And don't be a tourist. Become a native where you are and understand where you are and learn. So, I'm just so proud. Like my heart, I was swelling up when I was there, and I was saying to myself, this is beautiful. I see these young people really doing it, so excited.
So and that's your legacy. You played a huge part in them being where they are today, because you set the tone, you set the stage, you were the model, and you spoke about it and allowed them to learn and know that they could do that too.
Yeah, I'm so proud of that. And with that being said, another part of my legacy is the Luxury Live event that we do once a year. I just did my second year, and for the first time in my life, I felt successful.
Oh, wow.
And I said to my team, the people that walked in this room were excited to be here. They were happy. This was a room that they want to be in.
Awesome.
And with that being said, we're doing Luxury Live 2022 in LA. and I'm going to co-host it with my good friend Eric Miles from Miles Beyond Ordinary.
Awesome.
He's with Compass. I used to be with Compass for a few years, and he and I did Art Basel together.
Very nice.
So Luxury Live will be our end. So look out for that.
Okay. When is it going to be?
It's going to be in November. We're going to try and keep it. It's going to be in November.
Okay.
2022, and we're definitely taking it to LA. It's going to be much bigger and much better than it was the first 2 years, because now we understand where we're headed and who we're targeting. It's for the top agents that look like me in the country.
Oh,
and I
beautiful.
I want them to come and share with the other agents that are still trying to climb. And I'm really proud of that. So that's pretty much my legacy, Luxury Live 2022 and forward.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much, Jane, for your wealth of information and just keeping it real with me. You have such a beautiful story.
No, thank you for going here. I mean, I'm so glad my assistant, she was like, did you make sure to call? I was like, okay. No, but I'm happy you reached out to me. I'm excited that, you wanted to speak to me. I'm always available. No problem.
Of course. Thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to just follow you or connect to what you have going on?
They can find me at Jane Bond _ on IG, or, we have a website, which is www. What is that? And that's about it. I mean, I'm rarely on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm not. My platform is Instagram, and I'm very rarely on there. Just trying to do what I can.
Yeah.
Stay abreast. But that's where they can find me, at Jane Bond _
Okay. And your firm is the Bond Agency?
The Bond Agency, yes. Okay. I'm here in Naples. You can find me, like I said, at www.tbagcy.com. That stands for the Bond Agency in short.
Okay.
If you want to look me up, you can find me, send me a text, slide into my DM. I'm often answering questions, because that's where people find me. And please do not forget to read my book. It will really help you.
Tell us.
You can find it. It's called How to Land Your First $1 Million Listing. And It's really easy on Amazon. It's a great read, guys. It'll help you in your career and give you some inspiration.
Definitely.
So it's not a informational book. No, it's a story.
Okay. Awesome. I'm excited about it. And thank you again for coming. And it was a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. I need your help. I'll be calling you.
Okay, of course. I'm here for you. Definitely.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Sabine.
Thank you, Jane.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right.